Startup. All right, everybody. Welcome to Dental Disruptors Podcast, DDP, episode number 3. I am Jake Larsen, co-founder of Kala. I'm here with my co-host, Clint Berry, co-founder of Kala, former CTO of Weave, and always and forever a co-founder of Weave, because that never goes away. So we're excited to dive into a new topic today, and hopefully you've enjoyed the content we put out so far. Give us feedback if there's suggestions, stuff like that. But we're excited to bring you something new today. Today we're going to talk about some of the challenges in dentistry around data. And that means a lot. There's a lot packed into that statement. But Clint, when I mention challenges in data in dental, what are some of the first thoughts that come to your mind?
Oh, I get immediate anxiety. In the early days of Weave, right, we built a phone system that integrated with dental software. That's what the secret sauce was. If it didn't integrate, then it was just a phone system. And probably not a very good one, if we're being honest. The integration is what made it special. And getting access to the data in the practice management system was brutal.
Not easy. I remember when we, our first integration was with Dentrix, and we would all, Dentrix and EagleSoft was the next most common. We'd always have people that used EagleSoft that wanted it. So when you guys finally built an integration to EagleSoft, you remember what we did?
I don't remember.
We brought you a cake.
Oh, that's right.
We were so excited. We literally brought the developers a cake. Now, this is small, full founder startup mode, but yeah.
Yeah, EagleSoft's database was not great.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. No update time stamp. I mean, that's probably too much detail, but man, it was rough. It was hard. So yeah, I mean, the problems with data in dental, and if in my opinion, the single biggest reason that dental sometimes lags behind other industries and technology is because the data is hard to get, and it's intentionally hard to get because of the practice management systems.
Yeah, think of a very common CRM out there, Salesforce. Like, so many things integrate with Salesforce. So the innovation and disruption that can happen there can be very fast. But in dentistry, it's very challenging to get access.
It's hard. The schemas are different. Still probably almost 50% of the market is on-premise in servers in the office, which makes it hard. The practice management systems are constantly trying to make it harder to get it out. Which is kind of a pain. So I don't love that. I could probably rant on that for hours.
We'll keep that.
Either that, or they want to charge you $45
for
per
your
month
own data,
for the dentist to share the data, his or her data with third parties.
If you can't tell, Clint's very passionate about.
Yeah, it makes me super angry, but whatever. Here we are.
So besides accessing the data, what are some other challenges that and it's not just the data inside the practice management software, right? There's a lot of other components within dentistry where, data warehousing and other things haven't necessarily been as prevalent, so they're not bringing data in from lots of different sources. So there's lots of other data inside of dental, but what other challenges come to your mind besides just accessing data?
Well, let's say you're like a multi-practice, like a DSO or DPO, and you acquire practices and you don't make them change their practice management system, so they're all the same. Now, all of a sudden, the data for each practice is in a little bit of a different format.
Yep.
So you're talking about dealing with, learning completely disparate data structures and reporting differently, and the data goes in, like you're doing with financial stuff, like adjustments is different in EagleSoft than it is in Open Dental or Dentrix. So that gets hard too, right? And so you have the data pieces there, and then reconciling your practice management financial data with QuickBooks or your financial ledger. That gets difficult too. Like there's a lot of ways in dentistry where data is difficult.
Yeah. So as you mentioned at the start, the practice management software, and for some good reasons, right? The data, they lock it down for a variety of reasons, right?
I wish I could say it was security, but it's not that. Yeah.
Okay, well, for our sake, we'll just say that it's security today. But with outside of that, does that mean that it should impact the decision that you make as to what practice management software you may or may not use?
Oh, I think for sure. Like if you are a DSO trying to decide which practice management system you should consolidate on, or you're a new practice, or you're just looking to, modernize your operations a little bit more with new software, I would never pick a practice management system that locks in your data or charges you to get access to your data. And so I think whenever you're doing that process of picking, you ask them, if I want to export this data to a third party or to another analytics database or something, wherever, come up with some reason that you want to do it, ask them if it's possible and if it's free. If it's not free, especially if you're multi-location, if they're going to charge you per location,
that's an ongoing thing you're going to deal with, right?
And then that's just for getting, read access to the data. Then my next question would be if I want to use a third party or I want to build some automation in my office and I want to put data inside to the practice management system, is that free or does that cost money, right? And so those are the things
for security reasons.
For security reasons, those are, I think, the questions that I would ask. Are two of the biggest questions that you need to ask, because that gives you a lot more flexibility. It allows you to sign up for third parties that are more cutting edge. But when Dentrix Ascend charges you whatever they charge now, $45 per location per month to access that data, what if you're a third party, AI company only charging $100 a month? You're going to give almost half of that revenue,
and
just
naturally
to access
that cost it's going to be passed on to you as
it's going to raise the price for everybody. So it's just like, it's so backwards in dentistry still. Like HubSpot doesn't charge you to access that data. Like most CRMs don't charge you to access that data. For third parties. And so it's a little bit silly to me.
Super interesting. What's interesting to me is so you're talking specifically about dentistry. A lot of people or a lot of dentists probably don't have experience in CRMs outside of practice management softwares, right? To them, they don't necessarily even understand it's a CRM. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
and so this
it's
concept,
not a very good one. That's why.
But this concept of accessing data, it may not feel like an urgent need for you now. You may not feel the pain now. It might just be that you're taking into consideration the clinical components of it or other components of the practice management software that you like. But what Clint is saying and what I'm hearing is it's something that as technology inside of dentistry evolves and new tools and new and needs for having access to that data start to surface as your practice grows, you'll start to feel that pain later, whether it's in the form of paying more for third-party services, whether it's having to pay now to access your data that you
or not being able to use a third-party service at all
that you wanted to use
because they can't integrate with that software, right? And so I think it's especially as you get bigger and more established, that becomes even more and more important. And so just make sure you weigh that into your decision. Even still today, like if I had to pick one, I still, because of data access.
No sponsor here. This is this is Clint's.
I would still probably pick Open Dental, even though you have to run on premise. I met with a great nationwide IT provider that manages Open Dentals for people. And he says it's still, all in with all the security things that you need to do, the backups, still is going to cost about 7 to 10% more than a cloud solution if you're doing it right. But I think having control of the database brings so much value, especially as you get bigger. That's probably still what I would pick. They are locking, even Open Dental is not so open anymore.
To change their name to like semi-open.
Yeah, they're charging for if you want to be part of their approved vendor list to write back data into the system. they're charging.
Let's
money
talk
now,
about
too.
that approved vendor list. I don't know if there's a lot of people out there that maybe pay attention to that, but let's just educate people on what does it mean to be an approved vendor? What are the upsides and downsides and risks and not risks?
Yeah.
Maybe some transparency around what that actually means. Because on the surface, if I'm unaware of this or unfamiliar with it, if I say, oh, this third-party vendor that I want to use is on this list that they're not an approved vendor with Open Dental, it might scare me to think, oh, I shouldn't use that AI receptionist tool or whatever technology we're looking at. And maybe that's not the case. I don't know. What's your opinion as a
I understand.
Expert?
I'm sure that the Open Dental support has had to deal with corrupted databases from third parties.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt. And so I think this is part of their strategy for helping alleviate that. We're like, hey, if you want to put data in, you have to use it through our approved method, which is safer. Mm-hmm. And so I understand that. What I don't understand is charging $35 per location to do it, where they could have just put in some nice
messaging
stored procedures or something. There's like a lot of technical solutions to that problem that don't cost them a lot of money to do. But it's definitely a cash grab.
Fascinating.
Yeah. It's a cash grab. And
because
so
outside of dentistry,
no, this is nuts.
Secure integrations is not unheard of that aren't costing you extra money.
Yeah, I mean, I think for like certain integrations with Salesforce, they're going to charge you a rev share or something. Yeah. And so I think that it's not like it's unheard of. I just think it's super rare outside of dentistry, and in dentistry, it's like everyone's doing it. Even Open Dental is charging to access to put things back into the system. And it just hurts the ecosystem. It hurts the third parties. It hurts the AI vendors. Like it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. But. So just to kind of recap, all of that was a lot of different things, but we didn't intend to necessarily give any commercial for any specific practice management software, but just as you consider which practice management software that you're using, access to data is important and something that you should consider along with all the other components.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, if you go to like CareStack, Denticon for like the cloud-based ones, and even Ascend, I think hesitantly will do it. If you're looking for just read access, so if you want to build your own analytics system, you build your own data warehouse, they will do data dumps out to, a server that you can access. And I think for most of them, it's free. Mm-hmm. And so for read access on nightly, it's free. It's really when you're trying to get the real-time stuff that they're going to charge you for it.
Yeah. But, so to Clint's point at the beginning, maybe just a good question to ask when you're
just ask the
shopping
question,
around.
How do I get the data out? How do I export the data out? And how do I get data in? From our system for automation. And then that should be at least one of your guiding principles. Yeah.
Any other data challenges in dental that you're seeing or have seen or experienced?
I think, we talked about this a little bit in our last podcast, but I think, getting the operational data in there is going to be so critical in getting reports out of it.
What do you mean by operational data? Give some examples.
Yeah,
for
like
those that may not be
phone answer rates, like how many calls are you answering? How many are you missing? How quickly are you answering it? Those all make a big difference on, new patient close rate, those type of things. Where are you getting that data? You need a phone system that has that type of data, and make sure you have it, and make sure that they can export that data somewhere too, so you can centralize the reporting. There's other, marketing data is a big one. Like if you're doing marketing, like let's say you're doing Facebook ads, what is the effectiveness of that? Like how much revenue is actually being generated from your Facebook ad spend? That's trackable.
That data is massively important for any organization, not just dental. But one of the differences is outside of dentistry, there's a lot of tools that empower you to accurately measure that. Whereas in dental, where the data might be hard to get to, or the phone data and the marketing data are separated. It makes it really hard to do that.
It does, yeah. And we built a sync to go high level from the practice management system specifically to help track marketing return on investment, ROI, and making sure your marketing is effective or which campaigns are the most effective. So there's solutions out there. We're not the only one. Like there's a bunch. Yeah. And so I think that operational data is if you're not tracking your ROI of your marketing, you need to be, because otherwise you could be wasting tons of money.
Yeah. There's a few data experts that we've consulted with and talked to since we started Kala. I'm really excited to be able to bring some of those people on to the podcast with us, because some of the challenges with dental data as practices grow, especially in the group dentistry area, where they've got lots of practices and they really need data scientists and people like that. I don't know if there's a lot of data experts out there inside of dentistry right now.
Yeah, specifically, I'd say data engineers are pretty rare in dentistry.
Because the data is so unique.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to know dentistry.
Yeah, I think it certainly helps. Like, if you're trying to build an accounts receivable report and you're dealing with insurance, I think there's some nuance there that, it helps to be in the industry. It's not rocket science, like you can figure it out, but we're lucky enough to get to work with some of those experts, like out at DSOs or just like industry experts. Jordan Trentacosta, she's like amazing
We'll get her
data expert. Sure. She's presented before at conferences and things like that. I'm sure we'll have her on here. But there's others too that we've worked with and would love to, we'll bring them on and talk about, some of the data challenges they see and how they solve them.
Yeah. So if you're a data engineer in dentistry, hit us up. We'd love to meet you, talk to you, learn from you, have you come have a conversation with us here. But I think that is another challenge with data generally inside of dentistry is making sense of it all and having the right expertise to not only understand data in general and the tools behind it, like Power BI and other things, but to be able to understand the dental side of it, to mesh all of that together. I personally just don't know a lot of people that have both expertise.
Yeah, I think it's pretty rare, but we'll find them and we'll get them on the show.
Yeah, bring them on. So.
Well, that wraps up our third episode of the Dental Disruptors Podcast, DDP. And we're excited to get some guests on for the next couple. So we'll announce those guests here shortly, and we're excited. As always, you can check out our show notes. We'll put notes and links to anything that we mentioned, and hopefully this is valuable to you. Yeah. Send us your feedback. That's the dentaldisruptorspod.com. Leave a note there. Let us know how we're doing, and if there's anything you want to talk about that you'd like us to talk about, or if there's anything that we could do better or that we got wrong. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Talk to you next time.